This Choircast podcast is brought to you by Heretic 2 by Matthew J. DiStefano. Ready to challenge everything you thought you knew about faith? In Heretic 2, I dive into LGBTQ affirmation, rejecting divine violence, and embracing universalism in a bold post-Christian perspective. If you're done with outdated dogma and want a justice-oriented, inclusive view of spirituality, then this book is for you. Get Heretic 2 wherever books are sold, and start rethinking faith today.
Welcome to the Unbelief Podcast, your journey, actually our journey together beyond inherited beliefs to a spirituality that works for you. I'm your host, Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. We can fix that later, right? No? Hey, it's another book club episode of the Unbelief Podcast. We are diving into a very sensual passage of the ancient spiritual text of the Bible, specifically the book of Ruth. We are starting in Ruth chapter 3, and this is going to get a little hot. Now, the book of Ruth, it's kind of like one of these TV shows a la Game of Thrones, where there is a lot of action and a lot of sex and sexuality. And so if that kind of stuff bothers you, this is not the episode for you. Also, the next book club episode will be a little bit more graphic. So, just pay attention. To catch you up, Ruth and Naomi. Naomi is the mother-in-law of Ruth. They have lost everything. They have no men in their life, and they have moved from where Ruth lived in Moab to where Naomi spent her time, married her husband, had her kids in Bethlehem, and they have met a distant relative, Boaz, who has been incredibly over the top kind to Ruth, and by extension, Naomi, by allowing Ruth to have just really high privileges in terms of gleaning food for her and Naomi from the fields of Boaz. Now, we ended that the last episode where Naomi, who had been sad and depressed and sort of saying God had ruined her life, now to where she's saying, oh, wait, things are getting better. And she's sort of in a much more positive headspace. It appears that some time elapses where Ruth is gleaning and doing the thing. And now in chapter 3, it says, Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, my daughter, I need to seek some security for you so that it may be well with you. Now, remember, they have nothing. They have no men in their life, which means they are in danger. They cannot own property. They do not have the rights and protections that they need in that culture. It is a very patriarchal culture. They are in a desperate place. Even though it appears that they're going to be having enough food, they're in this place. And so Naomi is saying to Ruth, hey, we need to get you secure. If you remember, Ruth sort of left her whole family behind, her support system, and took this huge gamble out of faithfulness to Naomi to leave any bit of security that she had back in her hometown, in her home country of Moab, and she became an immigrant here. And when this is being written, immigrants from Moab, but immigrants in general, are thought of as really bad, really evil. In fact, the husbands of immigrants are being told to divorce their immigrant spouses. And this book is in some way a pushback against that very unjust part of the culture at the time this is being written. So here we have her begin her instructions to Ruth. Her instructions are going to try to provide some security and solidity to Ruth's life. And part of this deals with an idea that we've mentioned in the past couple of episodes called the levirate marriage. And levirate marriage is that when there's no males involved anymore, the oldest surviving male relative is supposed to marry the woman and have children by her, and those children will be counted as the children of her deceased husband, so that they can receive any inheritance and continue to be that person for their mom, that their mom is secure. So there's a sense that is in the back of people's minds. And we know that Boaz is a relative, though he hasn't stepped up to the plate in that way. And so it's that, but it's all the other things that men provide that need to be dealt with in order for Ruth to have a safe and secure life. So all of that is coming to bear. And the verse 2 starts with this phrase, now here, or now here is our kinsman Boaz. All of those words are really important. The now here, you could also translate it as so then. The idea is that phrase is pulling all that's happened before into this moment, right? It's like based on all that has happened. And then like the next part of this sentence, we are putting the rest of the sentence in the context of everything else. So like we're sort of drawing conclusions from what has happened so far. You could even though this isn't a great direct translation, but the idea of it is the same, like a therefore, right? So it says, now here is our kinsman Boaz. Okay, so the idea here is we're saying, okay, look at all this stuff. Ruth is saying that we need to deal with the security. And now here's our kinsman Boaz. It's saying that, okay, so I'm going to be suggesting that Boaz is somehow going to be the solution for the security and the stability for you. That's what happens here. And this is something that you could infer from this if you were really like dialing yourself in. But it's important because what Naomi is doing is not this random thing. It is based on all the stuff that has happened before. And I think this is the first moment for us to pause, because this is something that we can do in our own lives. A lot of times when we're in a difficult place, we just start brainstorming. What can I do? What are the things that I can do? But brainstorming can be helpful, but what's really important when we're trying to figure out a solution, it's not just to come up with something random, but to look at the whole context of our lives, all the things that have brought us to this point, all the tools and the resources, and resources, I'm not just meaning physical things, not just property, but people resources, right? Who are the people in our lives? And resources like our own passions and interests and abilities, right? So this is important because when we are in a difficult place, all hope can feel like it is lost. We'll have these like ultimate statements like, I can't do anything about this. There's nothing that can remedy my situation. When the reality is, at any given point, we have these people and passion and ability and property resources available to us to help us figure out what to do, how to get out of this difficult place. And I know that for me, this is something that when I click on it, starts to help me turn and find some amount of hope and help me come up with some concrete things that I need to do, right? When I look at it, I say, oh, wait a second. all isn't lost. I do have these handful of things now. Now, with all of those things in view, let me see what I can brainstorm, what I can come up with, ways that I can utilize or leverage these resources in order to come up with a path forward, in order to come up with a way to get out of this difficult situation. That's what Naomi has done. Naomi has come up with something that they can do. So she said, now here is our kinsman Boaz, whose young women you have been working, right? Whose young women, with whose young women you've been working. So it's going to be Boaz. And then there's this thing. Remember, he's allowed you to work with the women. He's allowed you these extra privileges so that we can have enough food. He is leaning into, he is open to helping us. He's already done that. This is like a people resource. This is something that we know. Boaz is trying to help us out. He has a warm regard for us and for our situation. And then we start to get into the plan. It says, see, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. This is all really important. They're going to go through, when they go through and harvest the barley is not yet in a form where it can be sold. It's got to be winnowed. All the stuff that is not the valuable food stuff has to be taken off of it. It's got to be threshed. It's got to be, they'll beat it. The outside parts will come off, and they'll toss it into the air, and the outside part will blow away. And Boaz will be doing this with his workers, right? He won't be alone, and he will be at this place called the threshing floor. So the threshing floor is it's within the public spaces within the city, as you might imagine it. But it is a very secluded place. This is a place where it's sort of surrounded by on some sides by walls and or rock formations, and so it's both a public place and a private place. And so after the harvesting, Boaz will go with his workers to this place and do this next part of the work. Then after they do this work, the workers will leave, but Boaz will stay behind. And this is an important piece as well, because what is left over is basically money, right? This is Boaz's resource, his potential wealth, his way to provide for his family. He is going to sell this barley, and there's a massive pile of that right there on the threshing floor. And so the workers have to go because he's not going to allow people to have the ability to steal any of his money, but the packing up of it doesn't quite happen yet. And so what will happen is the workers will leave. Maybe they will eat together. Most likely they will leave. He will eat his dinner there. And then he is going to sleep next to this big pile of barley to protect it, right? He is going to sort of keep guard over this money all night long, which means that he will be in this public area, but it is also a private area. It is secluded. And then, I don't know, I imagine Ruth leaning in, maybe it getting a little more quiet, and And if this is the TV show, it's firelit, it's dark, and Ruth and Naomi's faces are sort of lit by the fire. And Naomi starts in and she says, now I'm going to get you to go wash and anoint yourself. Now, we hear anoint often as having these religious connotations, but here it most likely doesn't have that connotation at all. People anointed themselves every day. It's a way of putting perfume on for, making sure that you don't smell bad at the end of the day. But this is the end of the day. We don't anoint ourselves at the end of the day unless we have something special going on. And wash and anoint yourself. It's really wash yourself and put on some perfume. Make sure you are looking and smelling your best. And then Naomi says something else that is really, really important. She says, put on your best clothes. See, up until this point, it's likely that Ruth has been wearing mourning clothes, not her best clothes, not attractive clothes, clothes that denote that she is in a desperate place, that she is mourning. And to say, put on your best clothes implies that she is taking off the mourning garments and putting on something that is attractive, in a way saying, okay, the time for mourning is done. This is the time to move on. And see, that's the thing. Sometimes we can get caught in mourning, caught in just the depths of the difficulty of our situation. And if we aren't careful, we can stay there too long. It can feel like we are honoring the difficulty of our such situation, or we are honoring the people that have died, or the loss that we have experienced by continuing to stay in that state. But eventually, in order to honor that, we have to move on. And there's a little bit of grief there too, right? If you've ever had to move on from something really hard or a big loss, the moving on can make you feel a little guilty. And yet we have to move on. We cannot stay stuck in the mourning and allow our lives to just spiral deeper and deeper without control. That's what's happening here, except that this has an even more sensual connotation. Several scholars have noted that the order of this, wash, anoint, put on your best clothes, is the same order as a passage in the book of Ezekiel. So the book of Ezekiel is fascinating. This passage, it is very sensual. It's God talking to the people. Ezekiel chapter 16, verses 8 through 12. I'm going to read that to you. This is the passage that the scholars link this to. It says, I passed by you again and looked on you, gazed at you. You were at the age for love. You get it? At the age for love. Like, this is a very sensual. I didn't just look at you. I saw you as somebody that I wanted to connect with in this loving and intimate way. You were attractive to me in this sensual way. And then it says, I spread the edge of my cloak over you and covered your nakedness. So this person that got this person, the object of the looking, is naked. Okay. This is, oh my gosh, weird Game of Thrones territory. The person is looking at a naked person in front of them and they find them sensually attractive, if you know what I mean. And then it says, I covered the edge of my cloak over you, which is also very intimate. If you can imagine that scene, right? The naked body, the naked person that is now being brought into this intimate space. My cloak, it's possible that under my cloak is nothing, right? And now I am exposing my nakedness to them, but in this intimate space, right? We aren't just exposing ourselves. We're bringing that person and bringing their nakedness to our nakedness. And then I pledged myself to you, entered into a covenant with you, and says the Lord your God, and you became mine. Wow. Woo. Whoa, it's getting hot in here, right? This is oh man, I pledged so this has to happen in the most proper way. This is a marriage proposal. I am going to bring you into this intimate relationship, and then we have the consummation, right? I entered, and this is this very sensual language. When we have nakedness against nakedness, I entered, right? That is, whoa, yep. And then entered into a covenant with you, right? This means that this is more than just a one night stand. This is a marriage, intimate engagement kind of thing. And then you became mine, right? I entered you, you became mine. I entered. Yeah. We know what this is talking about. It's not crass. It's not vulgar. It's very beautiful and wonderful and wrapped in this language and imagery of intimacy, not just anonymous sex, but like, wow, we are becoming each other's. And then here's the part that we get referenced in Ruth. Then I bathed you with the water and washed the blood from you. Okay. We know when we have a first encounter, sometimes there is blood. So I bathed you, and it says, I anointed you with oil, and then I clothed you with what? Embroidered cloth and sandals of fine leather. In the words of Ruth, right? I put on your best clothes. Yeah. So the bathing, anointing, putting on your best clothes brings back this imagery from another part of the Bible that pulls in the nakedness on nakedness, the entering, the becoming mine. And we get a sense that what Naomi is doing is she is teaching Ruth or guiding Ruth in the art of seduction. Yeah. So then she says, you do those things, then you go down to the threshing floor. Now, again, we know what's going to happen. He's going to be down there by himself. It is a public place. It's open to the community. Multiple people go there. This isn't his house. This isn't his bedroom. But he will be in this public place, in a secluded place, and he will be by himself. And then she says, wait until he has finished eating and drinking, right? Wait until he is by himself and in this warm, relaxed state where he has let go of the work from the day. He is relaxing. He has drank a little bit of wine and sort of has let himself down. And then it says, when he lies down, observe the place where he lies. Right. The idea is that, like, don't just rush in. Pay attention. Plan how you are going to enter this space. Get your logistics down so that you are going to enter the way that you want to enter. Right? Because what she's going to do is she's going to try to go. He's going to be lying down to sleep. She's going to go in a place and in a way where she is hidden. And it says, then go and uncover his feet and lie down. Okay, this is a big deal because the word feet is kind of like the word hand. In this language, the word hand isn't just the palm and the 5 fingers. The word hand can refer to the whole forearm, right? And the word feet is the same way. It can refer to the leg. And so he's lying down and he has a garment over him and nothing underneath, most likely. So if she's uncovering his legs, she is opening his intimate areas, his nakedness, to be able to be seen, maybe out in the open. There's some scholars that say that the leg can also be a euphemism for the genitals, right? So uncover him to where either they're visible or they are out in the open, and then lie at his feet, right? Lie right there, close to his private parts, close to this and on his nakedness. Yeah. Or next to his nakedness. Yeah, we've got the imagery of the Game of Thrones. We've got the imagery of Outlander where there's nakedness. But now here's important. This hasn't happened yet. If we're in the movie, right? If we're in the show, this is going to be the flash forward. We're going to get glimpses and flashes of what's going to happen, but we're not going to see it all happen yet. That's later. And then he will tell you what to do. Yeah. And another thing, this is an arid desert climate. So this is going to be happening at night. And at night, it gets really cold. He's lying down to sleep. He may, in fact, be asleep when this is happening. But when you uncover all of that, it's cold outside. It will wake him up. And if all of this is happening the way it says, it's going to wake him up in more ways than one, if you know what I'm saying. And so, but at the end here, we have this, she's not going in and just hopping into bed with him. She is setting the stage for it to happen, but then allowing him to make the first move. And now this is a request for marriage, right? This is a request that he will do like this passage in Ezekiel. Yes, the intimate moment will happen. Likely sex will happen, but it will be this pledge to her that yes, I am going to marry you, and we are going to make love for the first time. And so he will tell you what to do. It gives him choice, it gives agency, and it represents real integrity for both of the parties. Naomi is instructing her in a way of seduction that doesn't just, it's not crass. It's not just going for the basest urges. It is very sensual, very seductive, and yet not going the whole way, allowing him to understand the intentions and then make his choice. Now, we remember that Ruth, in doing all of the things that she has done so far, has taken many, many risks. And this is another risk, a huge risk to her reputation, because he has some options. He could take advantage of her and then publicly accuse her of prostitution. He could do the deed and then the next morning get up, tell everybody what happened and say, look, she is exactly what they are warning you about, these immigrants. They're just coming in order to seduce you and to make you marry them, to sort of shame you into marrying them so that they can get the full rights of being a citizen of this country and having the protection of a man. He could do that. That is one of the outcomes that is possible. Now, he hasn't indicated that that's the most likely outcome. He's indicated that he wants to care for them, but this is taking the risk that pushes that boundary further. And is this going to be taking it too far, where she's going to risk him accusing her and he could even just deride her for requesting marriage, right? He could say, how dare you think that just because I was kind to you in helping you get food, that I'm going to marry you? That's not what this is about. How dare you? How dare you assume that about me, right? That's one of the options. That is a very possible outcome. And if he's angry, if he does either of these, he might even rescind the winnowing or the harvesting privileges he has given to her. She is not just putting her reputation at risk, she's also putting the way that she's been providing food for her family at risk. And again, we don't have the indication at this, but he is treated as an honorable man. And so he can use that in a way of rejecting her and punishing her, and by extension, Naomi. All of that is in view. All of that is what we see, what would be in the back of the people's minds that are hearing this or reading this. But her response is simple. She has had so many simple responses. When Naomi says something, she said, no, my people will be your people. I'm going. I'm sorry, I'm going. And that's what she does here. She says, all that you say, I will do. She takes Naomi's instruction in seduction and goes for it. One of the things that I think is important, especially if you were a person that grew up in purity culture, one of the things that is important to note and to notice here is that sex is not bad or evil or sinful. It's part of being human. It's part of how we engage in the world. We are sexual, sensual beings. We find people sexually attractive. It is part of our world. It is part of how we navigate it and interact with each other. There's nothing bad or evil or sinful about sex or sensuality or seduction or intimacy. This is not that. This is not sin. This is not temptation, right? All of these characters, Ruth and Naomi and Boaz, are talked about in terms of people who have deep honor and integrity, right? And yet we see this scene, this instruction in the art of seduction. It brings to mind the bend and snap, right? From Legally Blonde, right? Here's how you seduce a man. And it's wonderful. It's beautiful. It's normal. It's human. It is a positive act that can be done with real integrity. It does not sacrifice your honor to engage in seduction and sensuality and sex. It is not inherently bad or evil. And that is what in purity culture people are taught. And undoing that it takes a long time. If that's how you were formed as a child, as an adolescent, when you were first figuring all of this stuff out, yeah, it's hard. And I'll tell you, it really helps to have other people in your life who are processing that, who are willing to process that openly. And that's one of the things I love about the community that I have called Not Church. We actually have a whole section where we discuss purity culture, our own struggles, how we are overcoming it. And we hear from other people how they are processing it, how they are overcoming it, how they are charting a different path than the one that was full of guilt and shame that they were given as a child and an adolescent and a young adult, right? And I think that you would love it. I think that people who are in that place need this kind of community. If you're interested in that, you should go to patreon.com/skepticpastor, patreon.com/skepticpastor. It's $3 a month. It's $3 a month because this is a faith community. We're trying to support ourselves, but we're not asking for donations because a lot of us have been manipulated out of money in a religious setting. And so we try to do a sort of pay for what you get model. And it's $3 a month. Look, if it doesn't work for you, just stop paying. It's okay. Because I feel like you need support in this. We all need support. We all need a community of people like Not Church. It's full of people of all different religious identities and non-identities. You will find collaborators there with a wide range of perspectives that are not in a judgmental, argumentative stance, but that are in a learning and supporting stance. I think you'll really love it. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, if you could share this with somebody that that could really use different orientation towards sexuality, who may be processing this, and that would help. Also, all the stars, a review, all of that. And we'll see you next week for the rated R or maybe NC-17 part of this book. That's it. That's the podcast. Shout out to the Choir Network, to Patheos, to Matthew and Keith, who make everything happen. Now, get out of here. Go do something to make the world a better place. Okay? We'll see you next time.